mama serpentine. Shipwrecked pirates claiming treasures in the sand. Sidewalk serpents by the streets of Superman. Fires like the faces of the gypsy caravan.
I'm a punk rock prom queen. Brown paper magazine. Hotter than you've ever seen. Everywhere and in between. That's what my baby says.
Meow, meow, meow.
And my heart starts pumping.
Chicka, chicka, chew up.
I'm never gonna stop. Gitchee Gitchee Goo means that I love you.
Take this sinking boat and point it home. We've still got time. Raise your hope for
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mark Wrong Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land, over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Proton bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley. This is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start.
Welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. This is Robert, filling in for our fearless leader, Dayton, in tonight's episode. I've got two awesome guests with me tonight. I've got Team Amber. It's Amber Lewis. How are you, Amber?
I am well. I'm excited for this one.
It's going to be a blast. And, of course, our visiting friend, Eric Dearth. Eric, what are you doing tonight?
I'm ready to go, able and willing, and I've got my list prepared, and I think I'm going to have some pretty good ones.
Fantastic. And, of course, I'm the host, so I'll be the judge of that. But
I have no musicals.
No, good.
That's okay. We got that.
That's a good lead in. So tonight's topic is top 7 songs by fictional artists, and it needs a little explaining. So this is a song or songs that appear in a movie or TV show that are by a fictional artist or fictional band. So a movie like this is Spinal Tap. Well, Spinal Tap is the fictional band, and so their songs would count. So it's kind of a category within a category, which is kind of fun. And it's trickier than you thought. And of course, Dayton did not want to make it easy for us. So he did put a couple rules in himself. No covers. They had to be original songs. So if all of a sudden the Partridge Family launches into some Christmas carol, that does not count because they did not write that song. The other category that he ruled out was musicals. Knowing who his guests were, I think he challenged it to try not to have in musicals. And of course, we'll see how that sticks. Because I immediately thought of a bunch of examples of those. You might tonight hear us talk about the word diegetic a little bit as we debate some of these. It's a musical term, and it basically talks about music that is recognized as music by characters in a play or movie or TV show. So the background music that just kind of plays in the background while everybody's, running around or shooting bullets or whatever they're doing, that is not diegetic music. But if they turn on the car radio or someone plays a jukebox and we hear a song that they are listening to as a song, that is diegetic music, and that's what we're looking for tonight, are those songs that are being sung by another fictional character in the same story that our people are a part of. So we'll see how that works.
My number one may be a little questionable based on those rules, because although it is a incredibly well-known and popular song, it may be in a gray area. So we're going to have to
Well, that's going to make it all the more fun because you'll get you'll get pushback from at least Amber or me for sure. If nothing else, Dayton will follow up with you later and give you a verbal spanking. At any rate, so we're going to start tonight with Amber, then go to Eric, and then go to me, and kind of rotate through our top sevens with a few surprises as we go along. Now, the first important question, because it is much trickier than it seems, is how did we put our list together? So I'll start with you, Amber. How did you approach this task?
Well, I'm usually like super excited, super enthusiastic about our topics. And I already have a million ideas the minute Dayton gives us the title. And this one was like my procrastination at its finest. I immediately regretted my life choices after I said I'd do it. I was like, what the heck? And the more you guys argued in the chat over the rules and what counted and what didn't, and I had to look up diegetic, and I was like, this is like a serious mistake that I've made in my life. So I didn't do a single thing until last week. And then I told Liam, you're going to have to help me with this because I don't even know, like, I got nothing. So luckily, my child knows me better than almost anybody. So he immediately started throwing out ideas. Will you like this song? Will you like this song? And the more ideas he gave me and the longer the list got, the more I kind of got in the groove of what it was we were trying to do. And so I was able to kind of run with it from there. And I was editing my list right up until 5 minutes ago.
Same. I started with almost no ideas and then ended up this afternoon scratching 15 down to 7. So it was interesting. Eric, how was the process for you?
Well, like I said before, I screwed up the task and thought it was the top 7 fictional bands. So I had a nice list of bands and some backups. So then I had to go through and I had to find the songs from those bands, figure out where they were from, where they appeared.
Yeah, P.S. to our listeners, at 4:00 today, he was doing this.
It did 4:45.
And we're all screaming at him in the chat, like, what are you doing?
Am I the only one who misread this?
Yes, my friend, you are.
Yeah.
Well, blame it on my head injury because I have a head wound.
Right? It's
go.
okay. You got it done.
It's fair. If Amber hadn't squealed and if you hadn't squealed on yourself, nobody would have even known. So
I know. I ratted you out. I'm sorry.
All righty, right. So you had bands, came easily, and you just had to kind of put songs to them. Well, that's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I reverse engineered it, basically.
I love that. My challenge was different because as we all kept pestering Dayton saying, how do we do this? And what do you mean? And I don't know what. He kept sending out more than once this list from Rolling Stone magazine of the top 50 fictional bands in movies. And 90% of them were rock bands. And if you're a listener to this show, you know that kind of rules me out. And then he said, no musicals. And then I was flummoxed because I right off the bat, I thought of a bunch of songs from musicals that fit. Now, musicals are tricky because in musicals, everybody sings everything. But our songs are songs that are being sung and recognized as songs. So if you think of like the musical Annie and they all sing about everything, well, there's one song, You're Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile, that is performed on the radio by a band singer. And so that would be the only song from Bert Healy and the lovely Boylan sisters. Anyway, yeah, so that would be the only song allowed from Annie. But musicals use diegetic songs really well. The one that popped in mind that I had to cross off again because Dayton's rules was Let Me Entertain You from Gypsy, because it starts off as this little childish song when the little performing vaudeville children are taught, and it's this twee, stupid song. And then as the show goes on and the little child grows up and she becomes a world famous stripper, it becomes this provocative, sexy, sultry kind of like temptation song. And it's the same damn song. So I thought that was a great example of a really like multi-purpose diegetic fictional song by a fictional singer. But I can't mention that wink, wink, because we're not doing musicals. At least that's what Dayton said.
Well, I broke that rule, so
well, I may have too. We'll see. And then, but then luckily, I grew up. I'm a generation older than a couple of you. I grew up watching lots of 1960s TV shows, either in the 60s or in their syndicated afternoon replays in the 70s. And it was such a thing in the 60s. Every single 60s sitcom was either like about a fake band, like the Banana Splits and the Archies and the Partridge Family and all them, or somebody on their show just popped in for a musical number all the time. So like there's one from Bewitched where, Wacky Serena, the sister to Samantha, who's the main witch, she has like a great number. There's all these great numbers from the 60s. So I kind of went there. And to Amber's point, once I kind of cracked that open, the floodgate opened, and I thought of a whole bunch. And I actually only ended up using one or two from the 60s, most of mine are from well after. But yeah, fun, tough category. So now that we've talked about it, and I have no actual rules of my own. I usually like to lay down one more filter just to make everybody nuts. But I did not. But I am going to be the judge. And if any of our songs have crossed the line somehow and are not fictional, or they are a cover, or they aren't by a fictional character, we might have a conversation. But we'll see.
So let's do this thing!
All right, so let's get started. Let's start with our number 7. So Amber, what is your number 7?
So my number 7 comes from what I found to be a completely unexpected place. A television show that you would not expect to have a song come from, on Only Murders in the Building. Steve Martin's character, Charles Hayden Savage, played a character called Brazos, who was a detective. And in the way that kind of in the 60s and 70s, Leonard Nimoy had an album and William Shatner had an album. The character of Charles...
Kelly Savalas had an album.
No, he did not.
Yeah, it is worth a listen.
Jack had his own.
Yeah. He got like the Tootsie Roll on the cover, everything. It's great.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Go on. Sorry.
Well, in that vein, Charles Hayden Savage had his own album called Brazos Sings. And he had this huge, for him, hit called Angel in Flip-Flops. And it's one of those things that gives you a lot of information about the character, because through this song, you learn about his relationship with his stepdaughter and how they used to sing that song together. And it was this bonding thing. Everybody's always talking about how can you afford to live in the Arconia? And he makes like a ton of money off of this song because for some reason rappers like to sample it. So he makes like $200,000 a year off of this song. But the relationship with his stepdaughter, particularly in season 2, is very important, and it's very touching. Her mother, just kind of floats from love affair to love affair. And at one point, Lucy, the stepdaughter, she's an older teenager, almost like early 20s. And she tells Steve Martin, she says, of the 5 stepfathers I've had, you're my favorite. Aww. And it's such a touching moment. So you get these, layers of backstory, and the song is adorable. And then you get this occasional shout out to the song in later seasons because it's Lucy's ringtone on his phone.
Nice. I thought sure when you said Only Murders, you were going to go with the Pickwick triplets from the musical last season. That I think the song just won an Emmy Award as well.
It
that
did.
particular song, yeah. So I was like, oh, I got this. I know what she can name. But you slipped in. I forgot about the other one. That's great. What a great choice. All righty, Eric. What is your number 7?
All right, coming at number 7 is a fake band called the Kinky Wizards that were featured in High Fidelity with John Cusack. The name of the song in the movie is Sold My Mom's Wheelchair. This could be a gray area because the actual song that they used in the movie was from a group called Royal Trux, Trux, and it was based on a song from Dub Thompson, but they modified it for the movie to fit the fictional band.
I wish I had a gavel. I would bang it and say that is allowed.
Thank
yeah,
you.
so
Yes, it's featured in a few minutes of the film, and at the end where they have the giant album release party. It's a couple of kids who are stealing records from the record store where John Cusack owns, and he discovers that they're not just thieves, they're actually musicians, and he decides to give them a break. So he self-produces their first song, Sold My Mom's Wheelchair by the Kinky Wizards.
available to a store near you. That's fantastic. I love that. My number 7, as promised, comes from a 60s TV show. And it was the first one that flashed in my mind, and I thought, dear God, it's all these years later, and I still remember this entire song. Now, the group is called The Way Outs, and the song is called Way Out, and it is very 60s rock. It's very way out in its own sake. Super catchy. It's like a minute long, and if you hear it, you will have it as an earworm for the rest of your day. It's from the Flintstones, the animated cartoon show. This was from their last season, so they sort of like jumped the rockfish by this point, and we're doing.
Was this that band that looked like the Beatles?
Yes. Yeah.
I remember them.
Yeah. And yeah, so 6th season, this is the same season they brought in the great Gazoo, the little like alien dude who like
I loved him.
Me too, but yeah, and Harvey Korman was the voice. Who knew? I didn't know that till a while ago. I just anyway. But no, this is the song. It's an idiotic plot where Barney and Fred both wear the same costume to their Water Buffalo Lodge meeting for the Halloween party, and so Fred changes his costume to an alien costume, and meanwhile somebody thinks aliens have escaped, but it's really just a press release for this band called the Way Outs, who look like aliens, but kind of like the Beatles, because it's the 60s, compared to Jungle Book and many other things. Anyway, it's a bouncy little 1-minute song that the lyrics are, we're going to go way out, and that's pretty much the whole lyrics. And you will not stop humming it if you listen to it. So that's a dare. So that is my number 7 from the Flintstones, The Way Out. All right, back around to you, Amber. You're number 6.
All right, my number 6, I sort of missed the boy band thing. I was just a smidge too old. But I worked with a lot of young women who were like deep in the throes of it. And it was very, Backstreet versus NSYNC. And one of the girls I worked with, like, she had the bed sheets and everything. I'm like, you're almost old enough to drink. It might be time to cut you off with having the sheets, but I digress. So anyway, but I can appreciate a good boy band. And when I saw the movie Turning Red, that was one of the things that I loved about the movie, was Four Town, this group that May and her friends are just obsessed with. And they each have the one they think is the cutest that they gush over. And I mean, it's just the cutest thing. And it's kind of the hinge on which the story turns, is them trying to get tickets to this concert. But what I love about it is that the song Nobody Like You is the perfect boy band song while also being a parody of a boy band song. And it's smart and clever, and it has like this additional layer of meaning in this movie, because while it, as the girls are listening to it, they're hoping that the boys are singing to them, and they're having their first crush, but it also represents the relationship between May and her friends, and that they're always there for each other and they always have her back. And, that beautiful group of friends that you have when you're, 12 and 13. And interestingly enough, all the songs were written by Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas.
Oh, nice. Well,
So
see,
who knew that they had boy band in their wheelhouse?
I would not have said you were too old for boy bands. I would have said you had too much discrimination. But
Oh, thank you.
anyway, and and beyond that, that might be a special Patreon episode. We'll pitch it to Dayton. Is like, boy bands, are they real or are they fictional? In general. But what a great choice! Great choice. I love that. I'd forgotten all about that one. What do you got for number 6 for us, Eric?
All right, so I'm going to pay homage to our fearless leader, Dayton Johnson, and I'm going to go with the fictional band Big Fun in the movie, wait for it, Heathers. They had a popular song in that movie called Teenage Suicide, Don't Do It. Now, this, again, is a little gray area, and I apologize. I did not have a lot of time to iron this out. But it was originally written and recorded by an artist named Don Dixon, but it was modified for the song to only contain the suicidal part of the lyrics. And obviously, if you've ever seen the movie Heathers, you know that that's a big theme in the movie. So even though it was kind of an original song, it was truncated to fit the plot.
I was going to say, you are 2 for 2. Bang! I will allow it.
Well, and my next one is going to be legit, 100% on the board, no questions asked, ready to go. But yes.
Oh, good, because I can't tell you how I may not be lenient all night. So
I am not going to take advantage of your generosity, but this, I had to do that for Dayton. Big Fun, Teenage Suicide, Don't Do It, the movie Heathers.
And of course, now they've done a musical of Heathers, and I can't recall if they did not use that song, but I think they put in a song like that song. So that'd be like a version of a version of a version or something. I don't know. Anyway, interesting. So my number 6, Amber and I sometimes think alike when we're not butting heads. I also picked a cartoon for my number 6. My songwriter, performer is Roger Radcliffe. The movie is 101 Dalmatians, and it is the marvelous song Cruella de Vil that he thinks of on the fly. Now, Roger is a songwriter in the film. He already had written the Canine Crunchies jingle for the dog food, and of course, anything with dogs and Disney makes me happy. But Cruella de Vil is an iconic song. It is a terrific, terrific song. In the film, Roger, because they're poor and struggling, he's a songwriter. He makes up this song on the fly when his wife Anita tells him that Cruella de Vil has come to the door. In fact, in the middle of the cast album version of it, at one point she says, "Quiet, Roger, she'll hear you." But anyway, kind of a fun thing to the voice of Roger. The speaking voice was Ben Wright, who did a lot of things for Disney. And in fact, he went all the way up to be Grimsby in The Little Mermaid up in 1989. So 28 years later, he was still doing voices for Disney. But he did not sing. So Bill Lee was the one who actually sang that terrific version of Cruella de Vil. And we know him from so many Disney things, including the voice of Prince Philip in Sleeping Beauty and many other voices. He just kind of stepped in whenever they had a male actor who could not sing. So Bill Lee sang it, but Cruella de Vil, it's an iconic song for an iconic Disney villain. So I could not include it.
Well, and you gotta love a villain song that he almost sings like right to her face.
Yeah. And I think the reason this song catches on so much in real life, that it's just super, super catchy. And I can see that being like the kind of song that some songwriter would just sit down at his piano and say her name and then just start riffing and come up with a song. The first 2 lines are Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. So clearly he's just vamping until he can think of something to rhyme with DeVille. And there you go. But anyway, fun song. Appropriate for, an October episode too. It was kind of a Halloween villainish vibey thing going on. Number 5, Amber, what's your number 5?
So I'm scooching ahead to Christmas. The Frogtown Hollow Jubilee Jug Band's performance of Barbecue from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It's a sort of retelling of the gift of the Magi, and Emmett gets his buddies together, and they rehearsed this song with, a wash tub bass that they made by putting a hole in his mom's wash tub, and somebody else is playing a washboard, and somebody else is playing like a comb, I think. And they're these cute little, woodland creatures. They have this banging version of this song, and then they get to the talent show, and this nerdy little rabbit like completely poaches it and does a terrible version. So they can't now sing the song they've been working on, so they have to sing a lesser song. And they should have won. They were robbed. But the song is still cute. It's my favorite one from the soundtrack.
That is such a classic as well. I love that. I was wondering if you were going to work some Muppets in here somehow.
Oh yeah,
but it's a narrow category because again, the Muppets sing a lot, but they don't always sing songs that they're performing. They're just singing them because they like rainbows and all that kind of stuff. But
right, and there's many songs in this that, I mean, technically they're singing as they're working or whatever, so maybe you could squeeze it in. But this one is definitely the best one of that movie, I think.
Oh, it's a classic. I love that. All righty. What have you got for a number 5 for us, Eric?
Okay, my number 5 comes from a Jim Carrey movie that it was a little critically panned, but I actually enjoyed it. It was called Yes Man. It starred Zoe Deschanel. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but the name of the band is Munchausen's by Proxy. And they wrote a song. It was written actually by the artist of the fake band, who was the real band who was backing them up, called Von Iva. And it was called Yes Man. They wrote it for the movie, and it was co-written by Zoe Deschanel. And it was for the movie Yes Man by the fake band Munchausen's by Proxy.
What a name. Now, what about the song? What about the song Speak to You? Why do you like the song? Why did you choose it?
Because it just makes you want to say yes to everything. Although it does say that sometimes saying yes to everything isn't always a good idea.
That seems like a fair philosophy. I'm just still stuck on the band name. I love that.
Well, I don't know if the listeners want to understand what Munchausen's by Proxy is.
I think they need to Google it. I think they've got some homework now. If they want to laugh as much as we did, they can do some homework and figure that out.
Google Munchausen's and then Google Munchausen's by Proxy. You will be amazed. And this is an actual real medical thing that happens in the world. But that is the name of the band.
A fictional band, a real syndrome. Fair.
Yes.
Fair. All righty.
I got a 2-for-1 there.
My number 5 will be known at least to Amber Lewis and probably to lots of other people. Probably just as soon as I say the name of the fictional band, the band is Drive Shaft.
You all, everybody.
That's it. Featuring Charlie Pace and his brother Liam, and in a not Oasis at all kind of like brothers dynamic. No. It's from the TV show Lost. You hear the song first in 2004, and I think the first or second episode, and it gets unspooled all through the series in different ways. It is a rock song. It is in the kind of realm of Oasis or something from that era. How it fits in is that Charlie Pace, one of the survivors of the oceanic flight, a band member in basically a one-hit wonder kind of band. And as he meets everybody for the first time, he will say, "Yes, it's me," and he will sing his little line, "You all, everybody," and so on. And people either don't know who he is at all, or they'll say, "Oh yeah, I like that one song of yours. Whatever happened to you guys?" It's kind of sad. But what's nice about the song is, and they explore it further in other episodes when you see flashbacks about how he wrote it and all that. But it's great because it really is. It drives the character of Charlie. It's not so much that the song is a great song in its own right, but you find out as the series progresses, he's not just the bass player. He is the creative force behind the band. His brother was the pretty boy in the lead, but Charlie really was the creative force. He did have something to offer. And in the show, very often he is dismissed and kind of made mock of and treated poorly. And as you learn more about the history of this band and how it affected his life, it becomes kind of almost emblematic. So really great song. And they use it lots of ways throughout the series. And kind of like my Way Out song, I think everybody might be close to the only lyrics we ever hear from the song. I think it's just kind of that over and over and over.
Yeah, I think you hear like one lyric when you see him at a concert in a flashback.
Now, for those of you out there too who are Lost fans, spoiler, Amber and I have some episodes maybe coming up for you next year. We'll see. Mention it on Patreon that you want to hear them, and we will be sure to get them done. But for Lost fans, I'll try Amber out. What can you tell me about Geronimo Jackson, another fictional band on Lost? Do you remember Geronimo Jackson?
I do, but I don't remember why.
Well, that's the point. Geronimo Jackson was this fictional band in the fictional world of Lost, and we never actually hear any of their music. They're mentioned in about 8 or 10 episodes. Somebody buys one of their albums. There's like a concert poster when they like time travel back to like the 70s. There's like a concert poster for them. It was this kind of inside joke among the writing team about this fake band. And they did release one song called Dharma Lady that they got another band to record that you were able to hear through a Lost video game and some special secret ways, but it was never actually aired. But so for the real Lost fans, Drive Shaft is a no-brainer, but Geronimo Jackson, that's the band we want to explore more. You might hear about it if Amber and I get our Lost episodes. Hint, hint. Let Dayton know you want to hear us.
Yes.
All righty.
I watched the week of that show and I was lost.
You got to focus on it.
I binged it. I watched 7 episodes and I was lost. I mean, it was aptly titled.
You need to give it more than that because even 5 seasons in, you could still be lost. But that's part of the fun of it is deconstructing and reconstructing it and arguing about it with Amber. I've been doing that
the hours at Disney that we spent arguing about Lost.
Well,
I'm not arguing anything with Amber because I will lose this fight. I'm going to roll a natural 1. She's going to roll a natural 20, and that's it for me.
The nice thing, though, Amber, when you and I were talking about Lost all the time on the clock at the Disney store,
it's a Disney show. It's on ABC.
Right, it's from ABC. We were just product knowledge. We were just, keeping our guests informed of our opinions of a popular Disney TV show. That's all I'm saying. All righty, let's move along to number 4. So Amber, what do you have for a number 4 for us?
Okay, so this is about the dodgiest choice that I made, and I put it on the list right away and took it off, and it on and off. But I love it so much, and I love the sequence so much. It had to stay on. It is a musical, The Greatest Showman. It is based on real people, but these are not it's not biographical. So it touches on real people, but these are not the real people.
And this is a song that was sung in performance in the movie, or is it just sung?
Yes, no, this is the song Never Enough that Jenny Lind sings in concert.
Bang, I will allow it.
And that's the whole point of the scene. In order to build legitimacy and support for the circus, Barnum becomes the manager for Jenny Lind, who is known as the greatest singer in the world, the greatest singer that has ever been. And so she comes out and sings this song. And I mean, you could watch this scene a million times and get a million different things out of it. Because at first you're just, your breath is taken away because Rebecca Ferguson is so beautiful. And her performance, even though she's not really singing, is amazing. I mean, there are people that suck at lip syncing, but she does a really great job. So her performance is just amazing. And then as you watch, you get all of these different storylines, and it's all through this amazing acting, these facial expressions and gestures that people make. And Michelle Williams has a tilt of the head that just tells you volumes without her expression ever changing. You've got Barnum watching Jenny sing, and you've got Philip and Anne in the background, and they've got a whole thing going. You've got Charity watching Barnum and realizing that she's losing another piece of him. I mean, I cry every single time I watch this scene. I am completely overwhelmed. And the song is just beautiful. So that is my number 4.
I love that. I'm going to pile a musical on a musical. There was a stage version of his life, of P.T. Barnum's life.
Yes, I love that.
Barnum.
Yes.
And you might know this one. This is some Broadway fun trivia. Before she was a movie star, what now very well-regarded movie star, she's still working, played Charity Barnum, Mrs. Barnum, his wife. I
don't know. I just know Michael Crawford played Barnum.
Well, he played Barnum in London. In England, Jim Dale from Pete's Dragon and so much else. Jim Dale played him here. Yeah, he's great. No,
give us a hint, Robert. What's the age of the actress?
Now she's in her late 60s or early 70s.
How old was she at the time of the filming?
None of this is helping me. I don't know.
This was a play. It was in the late 70s, so she was probably in her 30s then, or 20s even. Yeah. She's not known as a singer anymore. It's not Meryl Streep. It's the other blonde who plays all the patricians, and occasionally the weirdos. Glen Close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she played Charity Barnum in the Broadway version of The Life of P.T. Barnum, and she has a lovely
boiler.
song. Yes, before she did stage. She did several musicals and stage stuff, and then of course she came back later for Sunset Boulevard. But I
thought Sunset Boulevard was the first musical she did.
She had done she did the last Richard Rodgers musical before his life. Before his death. It was a thing about the life of Henry VIII. She was one of the wives, one of the 6 wives. But anyway, no, she has a lovely voice, and then Jenny Lind is a character in that, although her song is kind of insipid. Well, you
could not say that about this.
Well, right. It's ostensibly in Swedish, and then she sings it in English. Fun trivia about this too. It was a recycled song from the musical Sweet Charity. The same composer wrote Stork Prostitute in the 1960s and repurposed it for the most beautiful Swedish nightingale in the 18 whatevers it was. And that's showbiz. Anyway, Dayton is cringing with all this musical talk.
I know. He's like, oh my God.
Let's scoot ahead. What is your number 4, Eric?
All right. My number 4 comes in from a 1987 film that starred a major actor coming off a major success a couple of years earlier. This would be Michael J. Fox. Now, this is a bit of an obscure film where he played with Joan Jett from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. The movie was called The Light of Day. The fictional band is known as the Barbusters, and the song was Light of Day, written exclusively for the movie.
I forgot all about that song. It
actually made it to the Billboard 100. It went 33 in 1987. And Michael J. Fox is actually sort of an amateur musician. He does play the guitar, so he did a lot of his own guitar work, although he mimicked it a little bit like he did in Back to the Future. And I would have loved to include Marty McFly and the Starlighters, but Johnny Be Good is not an original song.
Nope. Good call. I know Joan Jett. I don't think I've ever heard that song. I'm gonna have to pull up Spotify.
You'll recognize it when you hear it.
The minute you hear it, you'll know.
On the radio, like a ton.
Yeah.
Well, you forget.
Grab the corner from the light of day. Yeah. I mean, that's the song.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even remember the plot of the movie. I just remember the song.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Somehow I am like 2 beats behind Amber all through this musical episode. My song, my number 4, is also a Christmas song. And it is this sung by a bunch of elves, so it's not from Lord of the Rings. This is from 1964's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And the song is the We Are Santa's Elf song.
My favorite Christmas show.
I love it. I love that song. And but at the beginning of the show, they are rehearsing their little elf choir, and they sing this song. And I think it's a holiday classic. But at the end of the song, Santa just looks at them and says, "That needs work," and walks out of the room. So
Santa is a grouch in this show.
Bitter Santa at the beginning. He eat something, Santa. Anyway, maybe he just low blood sugar made him cranky.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, it is fantastic. And like a lot of my songs, what I like is it also kind of works for the story, besides being super, super catchy and on repeat at our house all the time at Christmas time, along with Charlie Brown Christmas. But is that, again, it's this sort of group chorus of all of the elves and showing that they are a group, they're a block, they're very homogenous, they're all kind of in the same groove, literally. And so, of course, when we meet little Hermie later, who's the oddball and who stands out, the fact that we've had a whole song about we're the elves and we sing in unison and we do everything alike and look at us, we're elves, makes his oddballness stand out even all the more. So it serves dual purpose. It's a great earworm, and it also, in a show that is not, high drama by any means, but does bring a little bit of character development and plot forward as well.
Was that a Rankin and Bass production? Yeah. Okay.
One of those awesome stop motion things that was great. I'm not a fan of all of those. I will leave the room if the Little Drummer Boy comes on. But Rudolph is one that we pull out every year and we watch and we just love it. So but the elf song, it's awesome. My number 4. Alrighty, on to number 3. This is getting so exciting as we get close to the home stretch here. Amber, what is your number 3?
So my number 3 is a band that you had already seen a few times on television, and they did a serviceable job as the house band. But they really, in this movie, just came like exploding off the screen. And that is the Electric Mayhem in the Muppet movie singing Can You Picture That?
Now, is this a legit response, or are you just kissing up to Dayton?
Oh, no, this is legit. Like,
okay. Dayton, I know if he'd been on this episode, and when we get to his list, I'm sure there will be like 5 Electric Mayhem songs. So
now, when I did my original list, when I thought this was about the top fictional bands, the Electric Mayhem and Dr. Teeth, they were my number 3.
Well, and they're Amber's 3. This is perfect. So Amber, tell us more. Why did you choose them, and why that song?
First of all, they're a great band. Like, they sound amazing. It's not like a joke, And in this movie that starts out very, heartfelt with Rainbow Connection, and you get your little road trip song moving right along, and it's very like kid friendly, like for the 7-year-olds. And then they show up at this church and they walk into like complete and utter rock chaos. And
which is already so subversive. Could you imagine a movie in 2024 made with like crazy, weird, maybe druggy rock band hanging out in a church? I mean, half of the country would not watch it. I mean, like,
right? And all Fozzie says is, "I don't think they're Presbyterians." But then they realize, they want to help Kermit and Fozzie, who are hiding from Doc Hopper. So they're like, "Hey, we can help them by disguising their car." And because they're a band, you can't just paint the car. You got to like put on a show.
Exactly.
And so the song that they were rehearsing when the Kermit and Fozzie came in, they pick right back up and just rock your socks off. And ever since then, you knew like you're going along in a Muppet movie and the Electric Mayhem show up and it's just going to be amazing.
5 minutes of awesome chaos.
Yes.
Again, because I'm all about Aristotle and the unities of theater and drama and all that. I love that their song, Can You Picture That, is about like picturing something. And of course, they disguise the car. So, like the song, again, the song meaning actually does fit with what is actually going to be happening too. I love what I love about the Muppets, because we talk about them often on this podcast. But so, yeah, you were talking about the singing. These were a bunch of like mainly nerdy young white guys and like one woman. And not only could they break your heart, but they could really all sing really damn well and in lots of different musical styles, from yodeling to rock to whatever. And this was all done with like a piece of felt. So I mean,
and in character, like it's hard enough to sing in your own voice,
right?
Let alone to be putting on a falsetto or a growl or whatever.
Yeah. What a talented group they were and still are. Love that. I love that. I was wondering if Mayhem was going to make it on here somewhere. I deliberately left them off because I knew I'd get a bonus because they'd be represented and I didn't have to mention them.
There you go.
There you go. What have you got for your number 3, Eric?
Well, again, this is going to need to be a judge's ruling because they started out as a fictional band, but then later in their lives, they actually went on tour as this band. And I'm talking about the 1960s, the Monkees.
Woo! I definitely allow it. Love the Monkees.
And I'm going with Last Train to Clarksville. That was their initial release. I believe it was in 1966, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And one of the most unique things about this song is that it was actually a war protest song for the war in Vietnam that they snuck in under the censorship. It was about a guy who was talking to his girlfriend and says, "Hey, I'm taking the last train to Clarksville. I'm shipping out in the morning. I want to have one more night with you, and I don't know if I'm ever coming home again." And it was such an upbeat song. They modeled it after the Beatles song because there's a few verses in that song where he says, "Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no." But it was part of the Beatles. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they wrote it after a Beatles song. And it was written by a guy who misheard the lyrics of a Beatles song. And he thought it was saying, "Take a train." So he wrote the song and then he co-wrote it with someone else. And it was a war protest song, but it slipped under everybody's radar. Nobody figured it out because it had such an upbeat tempo. It had such a friendly welcome here lyric, "Hey, come meet me. I want to see you. Take a train." So my number 3 is the Monkees, Last Train to Clarksville. One of the best hits from them ever.
It's fantastic. I was hoping somebody would mention the Monkees when I was running through a lot of my 60s fake bands earlier with Partridge Family and all that. I deliberately did not mention them, hoping they would come up.
Well, and it's a gray area, again, because they actually did become a real band later on.
True. But when they started, I think only 2 of them even sang. Like on the TV show, other people were singing.
Mickey Dolenz did sing, and I believe it was Mike Nesmith and Peter Tork that actually did have musical talent. They
learned, but they were not for real to begin with.
No.
See, I'm kind of a fan of Daydream Believer, but Last Train to Clarksville, also a great song. All righty. Well,
I'm a Believer is a good one too. That's on my backup list, but I'm skipping ahead.
There you go. My number 3. I have to take a deep breath before I say the name of the band. Dr. Funke's 100% Natural Good Time Family Band Solution.
What?
WTF.
Right. I'll say it again. Dr. Funke's 100% Natural Good Time Family Band Solution. They are from the TV show Arrested Development with the character Tobias Funke, who was a doctor at one point. His wife, Lindsay, their child, Maybe, one of the best names in TV, played by David Cross, the well-known comedian, Portia de Rossi, Alia Shawkat, who's amazing in her own right, but sort of a folk group. This wanders through the series, and like a lot of Arrested Development, I can't really explain like how it fits into the story or why. It just sort of is there. But it is referenced a lot. At one point, some other members of the Blues family from Arrested Development join in, but ostensibly at the beginning, this discredited doctor character decides he can start promoting a medicinal product called Temosil. Ends up, as the show goes on, to have horrific side effects of all time, just all kinds of crazy side effects. But so he gets this little band together, and they write this song called Temosil. That's my song. The first line of which is, "There is no I in Temosil, at least not where you think it is." And the song is nonsensical as that all the way through. But it's near the end, yeah. But it's emblematic of the whole show, where it's just like ginormous moving Rubik's Cube of puzzles and references and callbacks and nonsense that the more I love Arrested Development, the more times you watch it, the more you start seeing all the different puzzle pieces kind of snap into place and tell different stories and make hilarious callbacks and things. This is the only show I've ever seen that they will like give you like a straight line in season 1, and then you won't get the punchline until season 2.
Yeah.
And by then you've forgotten that there was a straight line. You're like, what are they saying? But if you watch it again and binge it, you're like, oh dear God. The show, they must have had like 100 bulletin boards with pins and strings and all kinds of stuff. But the Temosil song with the tambourine and the long hair and the whole, folk rock thing, it is hilarious, and like the show itself, kind of bizarre and hard to fathom, but well worth a listen. All righty. Almost there. Amber, let's move on to your number 2.
Well, in a strange kind of way, your number 3 kind of tees up my number 2.
Oh, I think I can guess, but okay, go ahead.
I'll pretty much guarantee that you can't.
Oh, fair. All right.
So, in this household, we worship Christopher Guest. And I love This Is Spinal Tap. My brother
Mighty
and I
Wind,
quote,
right? You're doing Mighty Wind?
Yes.
I almost did Mighty Wind. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
My brother and I quote Waiting for Guffman on a weekly basis. Now that we have our puppy, Percy, we quote Best in Show on a daily basis. But this
I
one...
literally have 2 left feet.
Yeah.
But this one is from A Mighty Wind. It's the song by Mitch and Mickey that kind of ties the whole story together. The kiss at the end of the rainbow. The movie is about 60s folk bands, groups that get together to perform at a memorial for the producer that had discovered them all. And even though I wasn't born until the 70s, but this is the kind of shit that my grandma would buy me when I was like 5, and I wanted like a disco album for my birthday, and apparently she didn't approve, because then I would get like, the Mannheim Singers or whatever, some like, random Christian group or who knows what. And then my uncle found this group called Schooner Fair that is these 3 guys from Maine that do like sea shanties, but they also do kind of Irish ballads and stuff. But they're like one of the groups in this movie. But then Mitch and Mickey is Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy. And they had this, they kind of remind me of Simon and Garfunkel in the movie. They had this great partnership, and it was very intense. And this was their big song. And, while everybody's trying to get together and prepare for this memorial, there's arguing, and there's, we're not what we used to be. And, it's just all kinds of drama ensues, and it's hilarious. And then at the end of the concert, they do this song, and it's very it's done very straight and it's very heartwarming and touching. And everybody comes into the wings to watch because they're like, ooh, are they going to kiss? Do you think they will? $5 says he does, you know, and everybody just gets caught up in this moment. And it's very touching. And, you know, in a movie filled with satire that's kind of making fun of all these things, you know, it's beautiful to have like this very heartfelt moment.
I love that. I almost was going to pull a song from Mighty Wind, but I haven't seen it in a long time, and I wanted to rewatch it, and I just did not get a chance. So again, we're on the same wavelength here.
I know. My goodness gracious.
There's not going to be an argument this episode. We're going to come in like under an hour.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Anyway, let's hustle it along then. All right. So what have you got for your number 2, sir?
My number 2 comes in from a classic Elvis style movie. What if Elvis didn't die? What if he just went on and became a background character, an NPC, if you will? This is from Eddie and the Cruisers, and the song is The Dark Side, written and performed by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, specifically for the movie. That is my number 2. That piano intro is almost on par with Journey's Don't Stop Believing.
Nice.
You are picking some bangers, sir.
Well, you know what? I want to give people on the Docking Bay 77 podcast some stuff to think about. I don't want to throw out all the obvious stuff. I want to make this, you know, a mental challenge.
I'm going to say we veered from like the Monkeys to the Muppets. I don't know how obvious some of this was. But anyway, I'm with you. I like that. So mine is super, super, super well known, but probably not obvious for this particular episode. My singer my performer in this is Ricky Ricardo, played, of course, by Desi Arnaz on I Love Lucy. Now, most of the shows he did on that show with his real-life Desi Arnaz band masquerading as the Ricky Ricardo band were covers of songs that he also had done. But once in a while, the show did have new songs that were written for the show. Now, this song is, in fact, called I Love Lucy. It was the instrumental that we've all heard a bazillion times. If you've heard the show, you can hear the little violins and the bongos and the whole, you know, ba 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 ba, you know, that one. A couple seasons in, they decided to write lyrics for it. It didn't have lyrics initially. They were written for an episode about Lucy's birthday. Lucy felt unloved and that no one loved her, and she went to the Friends of the Friendless Society and ended up miserable and sad in Ricky's club. And then it was a big surprise party for her, and he sang lyrics to the I Love Lucy song. Now, the theme song is iconic. I Love Lucy is iconic. You know, Lucy and Desi and Ricky and Lucy, they're all iconic. But not a lot of people know that the song had lyrics, and it did. And they released this as a single. It was a big bestseller, although with the B-side. Can either one of you guess what the other I Love Lucy song was? Is with the B-side too?
It's got to be Babaloo.
No, it was the I'm having a baby, or you're having
she's having my baby, or
yeah.
That episode still makes me cry.
I know, and he comes to her table, and it's like he's like,
and she nods.
Yeah. Well, that was earlier in the season, and then later in the season, they did the I Love Lucy song where they wrote lyrics to the song, and they released them as a single. But the really popular song was the baby song, because everybody in America stopped to watch Lucy have a little baby Ricky, and then every toilet in America flushed at once. And you know, anyway, that's a fact. Anyway. The funny part about this, though, now what I love about Lucille Ball is she was not really a ditz. I mean, she was not even really a redhead, but she was not a ditz. She was a shrewd businesswoman. She ran Desi Lou Studios after she and Desi broke up. I mean, if it weren't for Lucille Ball, we would not have Star Trek. So
exactly, I was almost going to say that. Yes.
And you're welcome, nerds. Yeah. So, but what's funny is, so she was so shrewd. when they said we're going to write lyrics to this I Love Lucy song because we'll be able to sell the song, we'll be able to sell the music, sheet music and the records and all this. They're like, we'll write lyrics. She said, here's the thing. Don't rhyme anything with Lucy. Because if you don't rhyme it with Lucy, then it can be like, I love Amber and she loves me. I love Eric as much as can be. I mean, you could like put in any 2-syllable name in there. And she had the business foresight.
Oh, you love me, Robert. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. But if they put in the foresight, if it had been like, I love Lucy because she's so juicy or whatever, the song would have had more limited appeal. But in the sheet music, it actually, the initial run of the sheet music said, like, basically like the name. And you could put in any 2-syllable name and your honey thought you were like the best person in the world. So again, one more way she was nobody's fool. So, God bless Lucy, wherever she is. We all still love you, Lucy.
Yep. I lived for when we went to Ricky's club.
Yeah.
Like those were like the best episodes.
Well, and like the one where she like does some kind of like Indian love call thing or something. I don't remember all of it. I just remember.
I don't remember.
Really,
I
really
remember
funny.
one where she was like trying to be a dancer on the show, and she kept trying to like sneak on stage.
Yeah. That. Oh gosh, what a show. All right, so we are going
one little piece of trivia based on what you were saying, Robert, is that there were lyrics to a theme song that you didn't know there were lyrics to. There are actually lyrics to the theme song of Jeopardy. Merv Griffin produced that show.
Really?
He was on a plane with his wife, and they were going over it in their head. And there are actually lyrics to the theme song of Jeopardy. Google it. You won't be disappointed.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I've got the tune in my head now, and I'm just trying to figure out. I can't even imagine trying to fit word to that. But Merv was another shrewd businessman.
We are in Jeopardy. Boom, boom.
That's one of our favorite household things. Now that you mention it, is putting word to theme songs. We had word to the X-Files theme song, and of course Indiana Jones. Everybody has word to that. And Bill Murray famously put word to the Star Wars theme song.
Oh my gosh!
Yes. Yeah, they all kind of do that. But anyway, I love that. I will have to look that up later. All right. So at this point, we're going to keep you all in suspense about our number ones for a little bit longer. And we're going to talk about our honorable mentions. And usually at this point in the episode, if Dayton is not on, we give you what Dayton's top 7 would have been. But not this time. I told you there were going to be surprises. His top 7 is going to end up being seen in the show notes when the episode is posted. So look for those in a link. You can find out what Dayton's top 7 is. I bet he didn't have anything from Emmett Otter's Jug Band. But I could be wrong.
No, but I bet Electric Mayhem was probably number 1.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
No, that thing you do is probably number 1. Electric Mayhem will be number 2.
He does like that a lot too, yeah. All righty, so let's go to our honorable mentions. Amber, I'll once again start with you. What songs came oh so close but just didn't quite make it?
Okay, so I have 4, but they go in pairs.
Okay.
So the first 2, I ixnayed because they're not in English. They're both from Return of the Jedi. The first one is Lapty Neck by Miss Snooty and the Max Rebo Band. I love that one because when in A New Hope, when you go to Mos Eisley and you go into the cantina, you expect to see entertainment. You expect there to be like a pub band there. That's not very surprising. But in Return of the Jedi, your whole lead up is, you're going into this gangster's lair and nobody ever comes back out again. And what's going to happen? And then you get in and it's like, a party. And I love that puppet Miss Snooty with her Mick Jagger lips. And I hate the redo of it. I love the original. So that was one of them that I dropped. The other one that I dropped was from the end of the movie. The Ewok tribal celebration song, also known as Yub Nub. We do not stand for Ewok culture erasure in this household. We do not like that they changed the damn song. And they were playing drums on the stormtroopers' helmets. Like, it was a banger. So those were two that I wanted to put on, but like I said, they're not in English and they didn't really fit with the rest of the list. Then the other two that I took off, it was hard. The first one I didn't use because it's a theme song, but it's like a meta theme song. So it's Agatha All Along from WandaVision.
Nice.
And I kind of felt like I could use it because they're self-aware. Like, they're aware that they're in a show doing a theme song in a show that's not really a show.
I would have allowed it.
You know, and I remember when WandaVision dropped and we got that theme song. First, it was the shock, the character reveal. But then, like, it was a banging song. And everybody loved it.
Can we just talk a minute about the Riches Road song they just did on,
and that was the other one.
Holy cow. That was, it was like, and go back, listen again, and go back, listen again. That was fantastic.
It has been on a loop in our house. And, you know, props to the talent of Patti LuPone, that she can be in a group with 3 other women and blend so perfectly and not just, you know, blow them away like a tornado.
All that Juilliard training pays off. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, my girl's got mad skills. So yeah, the Ballad of the Witch's Road was a last minute, like, oh God, I really wanted to put it on there. But I was really happy with the list that I had. So I thought, well, we'll save that for another day.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All righty. Any honorable mentions that you came close to including but did not, Eric?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't want to be so prosaic as to highlight the obvious things. So I was looking at my list just now and I called an audible and I decided to change my number 1. Wow. But if I had honorable mentions, it would be obviously Spinal Tap, Fat Bottom Girls. We would go with the Brady Bunch, Time to Change. And the reason is, now the reason I picked that one is because I didn't get to the Brady Bunch until I was 7 or 8 years old. And that's when I started talking like this to talking like this. So I kind of related to Peter's character. Some other honorable mentions would have to be That Thing You Do by the Wonders. But again, it's just so cliched and so prosaic. Everybody does it. And I want to be different here. So those are, I think, my honor of Wild Stallions, Bill and Ted. The song, I believe, and I don't know if I'm right about this, but the song in the movie that they used was from Kiss. I think Kiss may have written that song.
I don't know.
I don't know. So those are my honorable mentions. And the last few would be the Partridge Family. Oh, one more honorable mention. The Lone Rangers. Adam Sandler, Steve Buscemi, and Brendan Fraser. The song is Degenerated. But it was actually written and recorded by another artist, but it was modified for the movie, so I didn't throw that in because you have already been way too generous. So, but
Fair. I have a quick Brady Bunch story I have to tell. I was old enough to watch that show when it was first airing, and in a remarkable similarity to Marcia, I also broke my nose by having a ball hit it. Although in my case it was a basketball, not a football. But the story my family has never stopped telling at every Thanksgiving to this day is that I got taken to the emergency and they were going to try and set my nose because it was really badly broken and part of my septum. And anyway, that. But the way they were doing it, I was under just like a local anesthetic, so I was still conscious. and they like wadded all this stuff up my nose. It was gross. And the doctor at one point said, "Are you feeling any pain?" And little, however-year-old Bobby said, "Yes, I'm missing the Brady Bunch." Because it was whatever night of the week that was on with the day I broke my nose. And I was like, I didn't care about the facial disfigurement. I was just pissed because I just could not see the Brady Bunch. Anyway,
well, props to those LA doctors, because you have a cute nose. I would never have known it was broken.
Yeah, no, it's mainly up. It's like up in the bridge and all this. It was a hot mess. Anyway,
I just recently actually I fell and broke my nose, which is why I have raccoon eyes right now.
Yeah, I did too, and there's basically not a lot they can
right
do.
Here.
In my case, and Dayton, feel free to edit this out if you want, but in my case, it was so smashed. They basically put like steel rods and cotton up both sides of my nose, and then just like up into like I gather like my brain. I don't know, and it basically was kind of like,
was into your paranasal sinuses, but yeah.
My way was funnier, but okay.
Right.
Anyway,
you got like a free lobotomy out of it.
But yeah, it was 2 for 1. But no, and they basically just like reshape my whole nose around these like 2 breathing holes they like put up inside there. So anyway, it was awful. Anyway, and since to this day, I have never played basketball again.
Yeah, I don't have an exciting story. I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, didn't turn on the light, tripped over my pajamas, and fell face first into a hardwood floor. That's my story.
Well, it's just as broken. So happy healing on that. All righty. Wow. My honorable mention, another throwback back to the 60s, as we've been talking about. This was one that also popped into my head almost immediately. I can still remember it. But it did ultimately it did not, memory and nostalgia alone was not enough. It's not that great. But it was from Gilligan's Island. And there was an episode where some Hollywood director gets cast away on the island, and they're all trying to impress him because he can have a rescue boat pick him up. So they decide to put on a version of Hamlet, but somebody or other decided to make it a musical version of Hamlet. It will be even better. So our castaways, with the skipper being Polonius and Marianne being Hamlet and different characters being different characters, do 3 songs from their version of Hamlet. Now the music, this is also partly why I talked it out, is like from classical music. They had like LPs of this classical music that they fitted new words to, but it's awfully sharp. I mean, like they do Polonius's monologue from Hamlet. And the show was always considered like kind of dumb and infantile, and it often was, but for like 19 minutes or however much they did of this Hamlet spoof, it's really sharp and funny if you are a Shakespearean at all. But anyway, so that came really close. It's on YouTube. It's a fun watch if you like Shakespeare, or I suppose Gilligan's Island, but it did not make my final cut. And so now for the moment we've all been waiting for, we have heard so many awesome and random songs in this episode. It has been like all over the map, which I love. We are going to talk about our number 1 song. So let's go back to Amber, ladies first. What is your number 1 fictional song by a fictional artist from a film or TV show?
Well, this, takes the trophy. This was the song that, even though I was tortured and I had no idea like what to put on this list, this one was immediately the number 1. I knew exactly where I was going. It was number 1. It was going to be on the list. Didn't matter what rules anybody threw at me, although it fits all the rules. It is from the 3rd episode of this show, which just blows my mind that 3 episodes in and we get like the best song of the whole show. It was so good that Disney execs said, okay, now you have to put a song in every episode. So just put that in to your plan. It is called back throughout the run of the show. You'll hear it playing in an elevator. Somebody will be humming it while they're making a sandwich. From episode 3, Flop Stars, Phineas and Ferb. Phineas and the Ferbtones are the group. And the song is Gitchee Gitchee Goo.
chicka bow wow.
That's what my baby says.
Meow, meow, meow.
And my heart starts pumping.
Chicka chicka chew wow.
Never gonna stop. Gitchee Gitchee Goo means that I love you.
I said a bow, chicka bow wow.
That's what my baby says.
Meow, meow, meow.
And my heart starts pumping.
Chicka chicka chew wow.
Never gonna stop. Gitchee Gitchee Goo means that I love you.
That
I love
is
that song.
on every damn playlist I ever make. The story goes that Robert just had, I think, Merlot come out of his nose.
Cabernet, you were close. But it
That
still
song
burns.
is an earworm. You get it in your head and you're done.
And you're happy for the rest of your life because you got
Yeah.
that song keeping you company. The episode is they hear on the radio that there's going to be like an American Idol kind of show at the mall, and Candace wants to go audition. Through talking, the boys find out that their mom was a one-hit wonder herself back in the day, Lindana. Her song was I'm Lindana and I Want to Have Fun. And so the boys start talking about, what makes a one-hit wonder, and they know what they're going to do today. They're going to follow in mom's footsteps and write a song that is completely and totally meaningless. And they perform the song. It becomes a huge hit. They get sent to a record studio. They want to make them like big stars. And then Phineas, of course, fulfilling the prophecy, like throws a big diva tantrum and storms out and doesn't sign the contract. And just as quickly as they rose, they fell. But we are left with the absolute best song of all of Phineas and Ferb. This one is my absolute favorite. Gitchee Gitchee Goo means I love you.
Oh. Great number one. All right. I feel like mine might be deficient now after that, but we'll see. All right.
I said it takes the trophy. You can't. You're done.
We should have saved you for last. All right, Eric. Let's see what you got.
All right. Well, like I said, I had to call an audible. Amber said something that kind of triggered a thought in my brain, so I had to change my number one. I also would like to say that I think it's awesome that the three of us went through 7 songs and we never overlapped.
I know.
That's amazing. So my number one, and Robert, I'm gonna have to call upon your judgmental skills to see if this qualifies. And I am probably going to butcher the name, but it is Figrin D'An and the Modal Nodes, the Star Wars Cantina song.
I have to allow it. I mean, it absolutely. I mean, we all know that Star Wars is real, but I mean, but I have to allow it. So
it's a made-up band, but it has a name and it has a song that was written especially for the movie. And
everybody in the world is hearing that tune that they are listening to this episode right now. I mean,
yes.
Dayton, here's the thing: we need to have a sing-along episode. Memo.
Yes.
Plan it for next season.
Yeah, we have to do it. Yeah.
Great choice. Like I said, the only reason why I didn't choose it was because that sequence is expected, and the sequence at Jabba's palace is, I feel like, unexpected.
Well, I mean, it's almost as expected as saying that You Do from the Wonders is the best fictional band song, but no. The Cantina song in Mos Eisley from, and again, I'm butchering the name, Figrin D'An and the Modal Nodes. Boom. Number one.
Good choice.
I love that. I know it's funny. We're all Disney fans to different degrees, of course, but Galaxy's Edge out in Disneyland, Disney World, the Star Wars land, as people call it. They had that hotel that they opened, that the Galactic Star Cruiser Halcyon, that was a notable failure according to some. But I gotta give prop to them because in the storyline of that, there was a band singer character in it, and there was also kind of like this stowaway character who was a young man with a guitar who like grew up on a bantha farm and learned to sing. But the Disney folks are so shrewd that over a year before the hotel actually opened to guests, if you were in Galaxy's Edge, you could see the kid with the guitar, like the performer who was going to play that role in the hotel a year from now. He was wandering about making up songs for people and talking about the Bantha farm and whatnot. No, and then the pop singer who I forget her character name, but she was a main character of the storyline. If you stayed at that hotel, you could hear her hit songs in Galaxy's Edge for over a year, playing in different locations and things before they ever opened a hotel. They seeded all that stuff so that when you actually met her in person and she was world famous singer or whoever of this great song, if you were a Star Wars fan, you're like, yes, I have heard that song. Like I buy that she and it was her. Anyway, just a little Star Wars trivia for those of you who did not think I knew anything about Star Wars, but I know a little. All righty.
I can't wait to hear your number one, Robert, because I think this is the most accessible list you have ever compiled.
I know I went so obscure with this one.
No.
but I chose it probably because I love it so much, and also because it is super, super meta. So our whole concept for this episode was songs sung by a fictional character who is performing a song. And I love this so much that I am cheating on my number one. It is from a musical. It is not even a very well-known musical, but it so fits our concept so brilliantly that I had to go with it. And I love it. I watched the YouTube clip like 7 times today and just laughed every time. So the character performing the song is the beautiful lady. That is her character name. And she is portrayed by the actress Beatrice Stockwell, who is portrayed in real life by the actress Beth Lavelle. This is from the wonderful, underrated musical, The Drowsy Chaperone. It is one of my all-time favorites of all my musicals. The premise of the show is that this lonely, sad, weird old man called Man in Chair is sitting alone in his apartment, and somehow he welcomes all of us in. I don't know where we all came from, but the audience. And he speaks to us directly. And because he's feeling a little blue, he's going to play songs from his favorite Broadway album, The Drowsy Chaperone, which is a 1920s musical. So he starts to play his LP, yes, vinyl, on his turntable. And as the songs are playing, he narrates. So he explains to us not just the storyline of the musical, The Drowsy Chaperone, but the fictional backstories of the different performers who are performing in this show. So it's not like a regular, Hamilton where Lin-Manuel was playing Hamilton. This is, Lin-Manuel, if he was playing, Charlton Heston playing Hamilton. There's like a more layers. So we work our way through The Drowsy Chaperone, this show he loves, and it kind of comes to life in his living room. And it is a very meta show because he's playing LPs at one point. In one of the songs, the record gets stuck. And it's in the end of a big production number, and the entire cast is on stage repeating the same gesture and dance and line of song over and over and over in this very jerky manner till he runs back over and slaps the record player, and the record skips, and they jump forward and they continue the song. Another point in the show, there is a power outage. We were talking about those earlier. Power outage, and as they're singing it all, and then later the power comes back up and the lights go back on, and the song continues, and it's great. They do all these weird riffs on this idea of playing the song. So in The Drowsy Chaperone, the musical within the musical, and in fact, they actually build this show that you would pay money to see as a musical in a comedy, because it is hilariously funny, and there are some musical numbers. So as he comes to the intermission of The Drowsy Chaperone, this 1920s musical, he steps off stage and says that he has to, use the bathroom, and he's going to go in his bathroom, but he will start side 2 of the record for us. And of course, he gets out his little record cleaner and wipes the record down, the LP, and puts the record on. And all of a sudden, the stage is filled with this garish red and gold Asian set. The Drowsy Chaperone is a 1920s frivolous New York musical. We're looking at like the Ming Dynasty. Everything is red and dragons and gold and tassels. And out comes the Emperor of China and this sort of posh-looking English lady called Beautiful Lady. And they start singing this song. And it is the first line is sung from the beautiful English lady. What is it about the Asians that fascinates Caucasians? And I've never heard the second line because the audience is laughing so hard. It's basically like a send-up of all the really horrid Rodgers and Hammerstein things. It's very overtly a parody of The King and I.
What is it about the Asians that fascinates Caucasians? What is it about the Asians that's so nice? Is it the wontons, the egg rolls, the rice? Perhaps it's Buddha or Confucius and their excellent advice.
What is it about Caucasians?
And they're singing this sort of horrid, dated, racist, pidgin English song where the emperor is like, fascinating lady, you amaze me. And she's like, oh, emperor, anyway. That goes on for a minute or two. And all of a sudden, the man in the chair comes bolting out from the bathroom, horrified, zips over to his turntable, rips off the album, and says, that song was not from the Drowsy Chaperone. And the audience is the real audience, ourselves. We are uproariously laughing. He goes, it's from another show entirely. And the people on the stage give him a dirty look and wander off. And it turns out it is from this other show that he has an album of called Message from a Nightingale. And his housekeeper has accidentally switched the albums in the sleeve. So we got this completely wrong musical number. As he refers to it, it's a slap in the face of 4,000 years of Chinese history, but it has some wonderful tunes. Anyway, and then they go back and they continue the musical of The Drowsy Chaperone. So it's like we're watching a show within a show with these actors that we've already grown to know their backstories. And then these same actors are appearing as different characters in a different show by mistake in the show of the show. So I just felt like it was just super, super meta. And it is always the biggest laughs of the entire evening because you're expecting to be watching this one show and all of a sudden it's this other show. And it's not only a show, but it's this horrible Rodgers and Hammerstein racist nonsense. It is great. So I had to put it in there because it is hilariously funny and is to me just the summation of our evening of fictional songs by fictional singers like times two, because they're fictional actors singing fictional songs in fictional shows in another fictional show. So I don't know why it did not do better. I saw it 3 times in Los Angeles and it is hilarious. But anyway, those are our number ones, and we did not duplicate, to your point, Eric. I think that is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Amber for being here and providing a little emotion along with her choices. Thank you for joining us, Amber.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Eric, thank you for being here so much. If I had not known you didn't get the message until 4:00 this afternoon, I would never have guessed. You did a fantastic job tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I had a few other little quick honorable mentions. Olivia Newton-John in the movie Xanadu, where she sang the song Xanadu with the Electric Light Orchestra. They were playing under a fictitious band name, but I don't know what it was. But
I'm surprised Amber did not try and sneak that one in. Amber has mentioned Xanadu as many times on this podcast as I have mentioned musicals. So
I was trying to follow the rules.
I know, but rules are meant to be broken. Anyway, I think we did a good job.
And I could not listen to Liam explain diegetic and non-diegetic music to me like one more time.
Yeah. I left out the films of David Lynch where he blurs the two because that was a whole other topic. But anyway,
that was a big 50-cent word, and I only had 25 cents in my pocket. So
there you go. And I want to thank all our listeners for sticking with us through this crazy episode. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we've given you something fun to listen to and to look forward to. Be sure and follow us on social media. Share with us your favorite forgotten fictional songs from fictional shows and things like that. We'd love to hear about them. In the show notes, as I said, Dayton's list, our fearless leader, will have his list of top 7. And I'm going to bet that maybe except for the Star Wars tunes, he did not duplicate anything anybody said on this show tonight either. Be sure when you are listening that you share this podcast on social media. Let your friends know about it as well. And rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. We would sure appreciate this. And for those of you who are not Patreon supporters, join us. There's all kinds of great recent exclusive content for Patreon members, including Pleasantville, the Blair Witch Project, Yesterday, and others. You can follow for free, or you can sign up for a 7-day free trial. Upcoming in November. November is Pixar month, so that's going to be exciting. We are going to be talking about The Incredibles, WALL-E, Soul, and the OG Pixar movie, Toy Story. So be sure and come back in November and hear all of those episodes as well. And like we always say, listen to more music, and physical media is better than streaming. Thank you. Good night.
The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson, recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.